Before reviewing the paper, let's take a look first at the assignment directions, especially paragraph 3, the bolded part, which says, select a current issue in healthcare information systems, provide the necessary background and your position, along with a conclusion and future direction. That is the overall purpose of the paper. Dropping down a little bit, we see some of the technical requirements. 15 pages, double-spaced, and that excludes the executive summary or abstract, any references or footnotes, and anything else that you might have attached to the end of the paper, like tables, graphics, diagrams, etc. Perhaps the most important list is the bullet list here in the middle, because it gives you the exact sections of the paper in the order that your professor wishes to see them. First is that executive summary, also known as an abstract. The executive summary is about 1 page, which in Microsoft Word 12-point double-space font is about 300 words. Then comes the background and introduction to the issue that you have selected. Then comes a statement and analysis of the issue, of this case that you are considering. Here you are to look into the sources of the problem, the stakeholders or the people who are involved, the financial ramifications, the healthcare ramifications of this issue. You are to include in this analysis a clear statement of what your position is. This is your slant, your point of view that will have to be supported in the rest of the paper with your argumentation and supported by clear, well-used, academic, credible sources. The support for your position is the next section, and this is where you must also do some very specific things, like anticipating obstacles, what the stakeholders might do or not do, and any other facilitating factors that you need to put in there that will help to persuade your reader that your point of view is the one that holds the day in terms of the evidence that you have presented. Then comes a final conclusion which hints at what needs to be done in the future in order to effectively address this healthcare issue. And then, of course, a list of your references. So let's go now to a read-through of a sample paper. Although you're not required to use a particular citation or documentation style, this writer, Chris Doe, and that is a fictitious name, has chosen to use APA, and perhaps it's a good idea to choose one style so that you can achieve some kind of consistency throughout your paper. As an APA paper, you first see a running head. Running means that it's going to appear on each page of the paper. Head means it will appear at the top of the page or the head of the page. The running head is usually 3 to 4 words that together indicate what the entire paper concerns. Here the running head is Reducing Hospital Pharmacy Errors. In the approximate center of the page comes the full title. Can technology reduce hospital pharmacy transcription and dispensing errors? This is phrased in the form of a question because the paper is now going to provide an answer, at least Chris Doe's answer to that question. Your name appears after the full title, and then your academic affiliation, which in this case is UMUC, and Chris also added the course number and section. Next comes what your teacher calls the executive summary, sometimes also called the abstract or simply summary. And this means that the executive, who is a very busy person, can read this one-page summary and get the entire gist of your paper, including the major points, the major research, and the major recommendations. So that's what you're trying to do in this one-page or 300-word abstract. The next page after that is the first body page. Notice that Chris repeated his main title at the top of the page. Can technology reduce hospital pharmacy transcription and dispensing errors? And then comes the introduction to the problem. Let's read a little bit. According to the Institute of Safe Medication Practices, ISMP, a medication error, which is one type of adverse drug event, is defined as, quote, a preventable event that may result in inappropriate use or patient harm while that medication is in control by a healthcare professional. Now, I wanted to focus on this for a couple of reasons. First, it's a quotation. And I want you to notice how the quotation is woven into the sentence of the paragraph. In other words, the quotation does not begin by itself and end by itself. The quotation is put to use inside the sentence, therefore avoiding the error known as dropped quotation or a quotation without a context. Second, I want you to notice that this author, Christo, is using the in-text citation style. The citation at the end of the sentence, parentheses, Patel and Kane Gill, 2010, page 2, is an example of an in-text citation. Notice that the period for the sentence goes after the citation. That means that in-text citation refers only to that sentence. The in-text citation style also implies that once you have that author's name, the reader can go to the end of the paper, look under the references in alphabetical order, and find the full bibliographic information that the reader would need to go and find that source, himself or herself. Continuing to read. Reduction of medication errors is intimately associated with initiatives to improve patient safety. This is Christo's language, Christo's ideas. He is using his own language to weave together this background introduction while using sources. Hospitalized patients experience at least one medication error per day, as reported by the Institute of Medicine in its 1999 landmark publication, To Err is Human, Building a Safer Health System, as cited by Patel and Kane Gill, 2010. This is an example of a source within a source, sometimes called a secondary source. In other words, if you run across a source that you really like, but it's being used by somebody else, what are you going to do? You can go ahead and use it if you can't find it, and all you do is use it in the way you wish to, which Chris did in this case, one medication error per day, but then told where that source was found. It was found in Patel and Kane Gill. Therefore, the source, Institute of Medicine, and that publication, To Err is Human, does not appear on the references page. Only Patel and Kane Gill appears on the references page. And that's how you handle secondary sources, also called source within a source. Continuing to read, we look at the next paragraph, and we see a statement of position. Chris says, the cost of medication errors to the U.S. healthcare system is significant, and that is his position. While not all medication errors result in adverse drug events, it has been estimated that, quote, hospitals incur $2,200 in additional costs per ADE and $4,685 per preventable ADE, end quote, and notice that the comma goes inside the quotation marks, resulting in an estimated national cost of ADEs at $2 billion per year, and there's the in-text citation for those statistics. Notice that we have Maviglia et al. 2007, page 788. Now, the use of authors' names in in-text citations is a complex issue. So the best thing that you can do to know how many authors' names to put in an in-text citation is to use UMUC's excellent guide to in-text citations and how to format them. And here you see it right here. Simply go to the library, go to the APA citation section. And this is another reason why we recommend that you use one citation style consistently throughout the paper. Continuing to read. Strategies that reduce medication errors can translate into significant cost savings for many hospitals. Again, this is Chris, the student author, establishing his position. This paper will discuss the kinds of medication errors that occur in a hospital's medication use process, available technologies to hospital pharmacies for reducing transcription and dispensing errors, their limitations, the barriers to implementing each technology, as well as some strategies for overcoming these barriers. What just happened? In this paragraph, the student author, Chris Doe, stated his or her position very clearly, and then in the final part of the paragraph showed point by point, section by section, how he or she was going to develop this paper, and therefore clearly indicated to the reader what sections would appear in this paper. And these sections just so happen to answer the assignment requirements exactly. Okay, next page. You now see the student author begin to use a series of headings. The first heading is called a Level 1 heading. It is bold-faced and centered, and that means that all other Level 1 headings must be bold-faced and centered, as well as capitalized as titles. Here, the headings are used to set off each section of the paper, and each section of the paper corresponds to the requirements given in that list of assignment requirements that we just went over. So there is a Level 1 heading, and this paragraph also provides another interesting point. You'll see that throughout this paragraph, the author, Chris Doe, cites Agrawal 3 times. That raises the question, how many times must I cite a single source in one paragraph? And the answer is, as many times as you use it. Chris used Agrawal 3 times in this paragraph, in 3 different sentences. Therefore, Chris cited Agrawal 3 different times. Now, something Chris could have done, he or she gave the date for Agrawal for the first citation. Well, if you're citing the same source multiple times in a paragraph, you only have to give the date once. So that's something that Chris could have done to have shortened that citation process. Let's go on down. On the next page, you begin to see how Chris uses not only Level 1 headings, hospital pharmacy dispensing error solutions, but now begins to add Level 2 headings, which are left justified, capitalized, and underlined, but not boldface. So that means throughout the paper, whenever you see a Level 2 heading, it's going to look just like that. The formatting of these headings must be consistent throughout the paper. Scrolling on down, you'll see that Chris uses these headings to indicate to the reader exactly what the technology is, exactly what the sections are that correspond to the assignment. And this sectioning by Level 1 headings and Level 2 headings provide your reader a clear organizational map to your paper. And it is highly recommended that you do this so that it is clear to your reader what is happening at the paper and when it is happening, and most of all, that the assignment requirements are being met one by one. Let's go to the conclusion. And if you remember, the conclusion must contain certain elements, a summary of the paper and a look into the future. Here we go. Medication errors are the most common preventable hospital injury. And while dispensing and transcription errors, which originate in the pharmacy department, are not as common as prescribing or administration errors, the sheer volume of medication dispensed per year by hospital pharmacies translate into a significant number of errors reaching patients and potentially causing harm. Now he summarizes the solutions that were proposed in the paper after stating the problem. CPOE and pharmacy barcode verification technologies have been shown to significantly reduce the incidences of transcription and dispensing errors respectively. Now we go into the obstacles, a summary of the obstacles that were discussed. Significant infrastructure and workflow redesign accompany the implementation of these high-cost patient safety technologies. Many barriers, including cost of technology, the lack of a business case, and end-user resistance, are significant risk factors for successful implementation. Here is how those barriers are overcome. The use of pharmacy and physician staff champions able to guide the disillusioned users, a visible hospital leadership committed to improving patient safety, ongoing training opportunities for pharmacy employees, and optimized vendor agreements are able to create, in the future, a successful start into reducing medication errors. So we see the problem summarized, the solution summarized, the barriers outlined, and then how those barriers can be dealt with in the future. After the last page in the body of your paper, go to a new page, and here you list your references in alphabetical order. I highly recommend that you use one of 3 citation machines. Those citation machines, once you put in the correct information, will generally give you a good citation. The 3 citation machines that I would recommend are Son of Citation Machine, which gives you both in-text and reference citations, the Bedford Bibliographer, and Night Cite. All 3 deal with the most current style that you might be using, whether it be APA, MLA, Chicago, and so forth, and will give you a head start on doing your references. Okay, that concludes our read-through. I wish you the best on your paper, and don't hesitate to contact us in the Effective Writing Center or your in-class advisor for any question you may have.